Steve Basic Architect. Yeah, we're out here at our Build Show Build Boston site. If you haven't checked out those videos, please do. BuildShowNetwork.com, under the Originals tab, you'll find Build Show Build Boston out there. It's one of my original series. We're on episode 22 of 24. So we're nearing the end and closing out this series. But we've taken this project all the way from, you know, the first day Scott and I were out here for demo to today. So anyways, today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about Warmboard. Now, you've seen a lot of videos where I talk about it upstairs, but although we're starting upstairs, I'm going to give you a quick review, but then we're going to head downstairs because we're actually putting it in the basement on this house. And it's a slightly different process, different system, just slightly. But anyways, up here, you can see this is 1.125" plywood that gets routed. It has an aluminum face, and then basically the tubes get snapped in. Now you see this one here, I'll just point it out with my toes, it goes down into the floor. So that is probably supplying this room, right? This room is its own zone. You can see we have our Warmboard thermostat, zone 12 there. So that hot water comes up and it circulates all around this room and goes out, does the whole room, and then comes back. And then you can see down here at my feet, it dives back down. And then that goes to the manifold downstairs. So they try and limit their runs to about 250 feet, definitely staying under the 300-foot mark, but 250 is kind of their target as the full loop, right? That's how their engineering has worked out for them. So anyways, enough about upstairs. Remember, this is 1.125". This is their S panel, which is their new construction panel. It's a one-for-one replacement for floor sheathing, so you don't need any additional structural sheathing here. The full 1.125" takes care of it, and then the tubes, which are proprietary to Warmboard, those just simply snap in, and you're off and running. So let's go downstairs. We'll check it out downstairs, and we'll talk about the system down there. All right, so we're downstairs. As you can see, all of the Warmboard has been installed. Now, it might look exactly the same as the Warmboard we just talked about upstairs, but I want to fill you in on what the slight differences are. So I grabbed a piece of this so you can see, and this is actually a really good cross section. Down here, this is what's called their R panel. And I don't know if the R stands for remodeling or reconstruction, renovation, but it's 3/4 of an inch thick, not the 1.125". So they make the thinner panel. So if you remember, I shot some videos with Matt and on my, Build Show Network catalog, where we use these on a project up in Andover, which was the ranch remodel that we did there. And the reason we could get away with this is because we stripped up the old hardwood floors, so we still had the original floor sheathing. We were just putting the panels on. Upstairs here, the 1.125" is the actual floor sheathing and radiant panel. So down here, this really, you can't use this for new construction because you can see it's too flimsy. There's not enough meat underneath that panel in the that the 1.125" provides. So you have to go upgrade to that for new construction. But down here, we are just using their 3/4 inch R panel. And you can see here, we have some of the tubing. I'm just going to grab it and you can just see, you know, their system, how proprietary it is. It just fits, you know, nice and neatly. The stuff just coils out, snaps in, runs around, forms to all of the turns and such down there. And then, you know, the guys, the same things that apply. They have their T-bars, so you can see you pretty much have perfect alignment of all the panels to run out the tubing. Now, one of the things you need to be aware of here is we need to run the tubing out into a wall because we don't have the luxury like we did upstairs when I pointed it out of diving down into the floor, right? Here you're going to pretty much run laterally, router up into the wall and then come up into the wall, go up to one of the manifold systems. As far as attaching it here, they had a, I don't see it around, but they had a specific compressor and nail shooter. I forget honestly what the name of it was, but go check out the latest build show video because there, if you're really interested, there we highlighted it. But it's a compressor that operates at 400 psi and basically shoots a very special concrete nail. So you don't have to go out, you know, laying these panels down, pre-drill it, use a Tapcon or some other device. You can use a nail gun that's high pressure and basically shoots those in. And of course, you know, I bounced my 160-pound frame on this. It's solid as hell. So anyways, you know, Warmboard, if you're building a new house and you're considering a luxury item that you really want to have in the house, I've installed dozens of these systems in homes. I have never had any client ever regret putting in a Warmboard system. They just absolutely love it. There's no better way to provide heat to us personally than through the direct contact of a radiant floor. So you get to walk around. I have one client, I'm not going to mention his names, but you know, I was like, you probably don't even wear slippers in the house, right? He goes, I don't even wear socks anymore. I rip the socks off. I love walking around on my floors barefoot because they're so damn warm. But anyways, he's a character. Why don't we, we'll jump around and I'll just give you a quick snippet of one of the manifold systems that we have in the house here. So let's go check that out. All right, so we jumped over on the side here. You know, we're going to talk about the manifold, but I actually have a piece of Stego wrap. And one of the things that I neglected to tell you when I was standing in the other room, because the panels in the basement have a raw plywood backing, we don't want to put those on concrete because there's still a little bit of moisture in the concrete. So we turned to our good friends at Stego. We had a bunch of the Stego wrap. This is the vapor barrier. It's a 15 mil poly that you're not tearing or putting a hole in, that we put underneath the slab. But you can see here, there's a little remnant of it. You can see it turned up right there. But basically, underneath this whole floor here is the green Stego wrap. And I think, can you see it there? Yeah, you can see it where they cut it, especially over in the corner there. So there is no slab contact with the bottom of that R panel because it is raw plywood. We have that vapor barrier protector there. So, all right, so that being said, let's come over here. Now, I'm going to give you the Steve Bazek architect down and dirty what happens when we get called for heat. This isn't prime-time engineering. I don't claim to be an engineering that knows all of this. I have a very good understanding that is very, very dangerous, that can get me in a lot of trouble if I try and stretch it. So bear with me. We're in the front bedroom where we started this video. For whatever reason, temperature drops and there's a call for heat. Thermostat says room temperature below set point, we need heat. What that does is that information gets transferred over. We have a box over there. We're not going to go over there, but it's basically a black box. It's got a little plastic case inside there, but that is the brains of the operation, right? So, call for heat goes to the box over there. The motherboard, or mother controls, if you will, says we need heat in zone 7.1. So that motherboard then comes over and talks to these smaller boards. These smaller boards are plugged in in series to different manifolds. And that says, hey, go over to this manifold and open up 7.1, I'm sending hot water. So this thing comes down to the manifold, and you see this says supply 7.1 and return 7.1. So the top parts are the supply, the bottom parts are the return. But the minute that thing says get heat to 7.1, this thing opens up this valve and that valve. The motherboard then turns on the pump over there and circulates hot, warm water through the system. It comes over here and it goes into the supply of 7.1. And then that goes over to the floor system there, circulates through the floor, warms it up. It comes back via the return pipe on 7.1, and you notice that one comes down and back. That opens up this valve, and it sends the water through this pipe back to the system. It gets more heat, and it just keeps cycling that water through that system, through the 7.1 loop, until that room now hits set point. The thermostat then calls the motherboard and says, we got heat, shut her down on 7.1. That thing shuts it down, relays that information to this, the valves close, and the room has heat. So that's my real simple, basic, if you get the pun there, understanding. All right. So, plumbers do a beautiful job. Now, we probably have, I think we have 5 or 6 different manifolds around the house because Warmboard doesn't want these runs to be too long, right? After about 250 feet or so, the return temperature on the water coming back is starting to fall below the threshold. They want to see that return temperature, right? You don't want to send water back to the motherboard over there or the tank and have to raise that temperature by 30 or 40 degrees. You want to raise that temperature by 12 or 15 degrees or whatever their threshold number is. I'm just throwing numbers out here. Don't be an engineer throwing comments in there saying, oh, it's more like 16 to 18 degrees, Steve. I apologize. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm just trying to get you to understand. You don't want to send it back over there where it has a very high delta that it has to rebuild. You want a pretty shallow delta to rebuild and have it come back and run through the supply line, right? And get it so that eventually we get that to the steady temperature where the system shuts down. So anyways, that's my quick video on Warmboard. We can certainly, we just got power in here, so we're using the light off the camera. We're down here in a dark mechanical room. We just got power. The electrician is slowly bringing the house up. We just got the meter installed, so we'll be able to return here in a week or so, and we'll shoot a whole bunch more videos. We'll have power through the whole house, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more. But until then, I'm Steve, Basic Architect. This is the Build Show Build Boston site. That is a beautiful Warmboard manifold. Until next time, long live our buildings.